Hello and welcome to my fourth video of the Devlog series about the marble model. Today we're gonna talk about the ammeter and the voltmeter. Because this isn't an educational video, I briefly put both objects into the very same clip. At the start here, let me build up a scene which contains both objects. Let me take another sip of coffee while the scene is building. Here in the reality mode we can see an ammeter and a voltmeter. I'd like to mention the level of detail. The needle of the instruments are movable and they are dependent on the values. I do not even have a floor texture, but the needles are moving. Great. Here in the sketch mode the situation looks quite similar. You could also just say I didn't invest time in creating another similar objects. Now here in the allegory mode things get interesting. Let me show you at first the ammeter. The ammeter is basically only a portal where marbles are being pushed through. The ammeter is getting the current value, and it is also getting the current delta time value, and with those values it is able to calculate the amount of electrons having passed the portal. Each time a certain amount of electrons has passed the portal, the red light is glowing up for a very short amount of time, and the duration of this lightning of the red bulb is also depending on the current value, because I do not want that it could be possible that it is continuously glowing up red. So if the frequency is very high, also the duration of the lightning of the red color becomes very short. The even more interesting part is here the voltmeter. This interpretation of the voltmeter visualizes why you are not allowed to put a voltmeter in line. No electrons, or let's say no marbles, are able to go through this instrument, but it is also measuring the potential difference. The interesting thing here is it isn't measuring the potentials, but it is measuring the potential difference. So we could have a scenario where both ends have the very same value, and with such values the needle wouldn't move at all, it would stay in the center. Another very interesting aspect here are the springs in the middle. At the very beginning I didn't have those springs, and I had always the feeling that something was missing for a correct mechanical model. Just for a moment, let's assume there weren't any springs at all. Then the slightest difference in potential would cause the needle to move to one side, and it wouldn't be possible to measure a proportion, because it would get on the very left side or it would get to the very right side only because of a tiny amount of difference in potential. With the help of these springs we are able to measure a proportion. In my very first sketches of the voltmeter I had the idea of having something like a elastic rubber between two pipes of water, and depending on the pressure of the water this rubber would be pushed in one direction or to the other direction, and a needle somehow would have measured the position of this flexible rubber and visualized the pressure difference. At this time I still wanted to show that no water, no current is flowing at all through this instrument, so I decided to make somehow an empty space between those ends of the pipes, and I came up with such an idea like visualized here. At that time I didn't know how I could realize such an idea, because the only thing I could create from code was using a modifier to modify an game object, and I would have had to change the vertices, and at that time I wasn't able to make such programming. From today's point of view, I assume it would probably take me a few days of prototyping, and it would probably maybe be done. But such an idea wasn't needed any longer, because I decided to keep the idea up with marbles, and having marbles instead of water gave me the possibility to use coils instead, and it made things much easier. Now at the end, let's also have a look at the cascades model. Here the ammeter is represented with a ring, and it's quite a similar principle like in the allegory mode. The voltmeter is here visualized with a measuring tape. Thanks for watching.